Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to replace the timing chain on my 08 YZ450F, including tear down, rebuild, and how to time the engine afterwards. You're going to need an 8, 10, 12, and 14 millimeter socket, ratchets and extensions, along with Allen keys, the timing chain itself, a flywheel puller, and the ignition cover gasket. I already have the gas tank shrouds and seat off, and that was held on by 2 10 millimeter bolts and I think 3 8 millimeter bolts. I also have the upper engine mount off as well, which is held on by 14 millimeter bolts. Next up, I'm going to drain the oil and then start tearing down the engine. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is remove the timing chain tensioner and the valve cover, followed by the cams. Alright guys, now that the timing chain is all loose in here, the cams are all loose, they're ready to come out. Next up is to take off the ignition cover, and likely a lot of oil is going to drain out, so have an oil pan ready to catch that. Alright guys, that went pretty easy aside from the oil leaking out of there, but that's to be expected because I only drained the one little reservoir over here, not the actual crankcase itself of oil. So anyways, I'm going to let this thing just hang in here, and next thing I'm going to do is take off the flywheel here. Alright guys, I got the flywheel off here, so now we're down to just a timing chain, and the next thing I'm going to do is take this retainer off right here. It holds in a timing chain and it should come right out. Alright guys, so I got that retainer off there and timing chain is loose. So next thing we're going to do is go up top here and pull it off these top two timing gears here and drop it down. There it is. We might actually have to pull one of these up a little bit to get it completely off. Drop it down, and there we go. I'm pretty sure the whole thing just dropped down in there. Yep, and there we go. There's our timing chain. Alright, so now that we got our new timing chain here, we're gonna go ahead and drop it down from the top and loop it around the bottom gear. Alright, there it is around the bottom gear there. Alright guys, and there we go. I got the timing chain on there and it is looped around the top gears there. At this point, you don't have to worry too much about timing because you can't time it until the bottom end is put back together. So let's go ahead and do that. Put that flywheel back on, tighten that down, and put this cover back on with a new gasket. Alright guys, we got the flywheel on there, timing chain's all up in there good. Next thing we're going to do is put the gasket around here. Don't forget your little O-ring right there. It goes on this little peg right here. After that, put that cover back on, and we're going to move back to the top end. Alright guys, I got this cover back on and tightened back up. The next thing to do is time the engine. For that, you need to remove this plug here and make sure you can see the cams up here because we're going to be lining up these marks right there. Alright, so what we want to do is spin the engine over until you see the line on the flywheel line up with that little mark right there. Those both line up, which means that is a top dead center, and we can time the cams up here. So as you can see, there's two marks here. There's one right there and right there. These should be like a 90-degree angle like that. So one should be flush here and one should be straight up there. Same with this side. There's one right there and there's one down there. These again should be like this, 90-degree angle. So it looks like this whole thing needs to rotate one. So what we're gonna do is pick up the cam chain and rotate that cam one and that one as well that way. And you can also help by tensioning the chain a little bit with your finger. Kind of pulls them tight a little bit, and you can see those are straight up there, so we are all good to go. After this, all you need to do is just reassemble, put these caps back on here on each side, tensioner, and make sure you don't forget these, which sit on top of each cam and help guide this in place. Alright guys, I got pretty much everything back together on the engine here. I kicked it over and it seems like it turns over smoothly. So next thing we're going to do is put on that top engine mount and the gas tank seat, and then we're pretty much done.